Section 7.1 is on linear systems of equations. So there's three possible answers you can have when you're dealing with a system. An independent system will have one solution, and this is the ones that we'll see the most of, where you have the intersection of the two lines will be your answer. An inconsistent system, which is where you have no answers, the lines don't intersect at all, so there's no solution. And then an dependent system, and that's one where they're multiples of each other, so there's infinitely many solutions to the system. And those you write with letters, not just numbers, and we'll talk about those as we see examples. So the first example here says determine whether the order pair 5, 1 is a solution to the given system. So to check if something is an answer, the only thing you have to do is plug it into each equation and then see if it's a solution. So for example, the 5, 1, we just need to remember that the 5 is x, the 1 is y, right? So I'm going to put 5 plus 3, and I'm going to check if that's 8. And in this case, yes. So it works for that one, but it has to work for the other one as well. So because it works for both, then the answer would be yes. If it works for one and not the other, the answer is no. Now, my open math may ask you to just solve by graphing. If they ask you to solve just by graphing, the only thing you have to do is graph the lines. So in order to graph the lines, you can do an x and a y. Now, since the y's are by themselves, I can pick any x, like 0, and 2, because my open math is going to graph them automatically. So if you put 0, -8, and then you put the 2, well, that might be too big, let's put -2. I just want to make sure that the answer I get is within the graph they gave me. So once you plot the lines, my open math will graph that line, and then you graph the other line. Pick 2 points for that. So it will be 1, 0, and 1. And then when you put 1, so it's 2. And then my open math will automatically see that you will see that the answer is the intersection of the two. So my open math asks you to answer if the graphs intersect is one solution. If you had gone parallel lines, no solution. And if you get only one line, the graph will show you and you will select the correct one. Solve the system by substitution. So see how on the second one here we have x equals. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that x and we're going to substitute all of this for x. So it's going to look like this. And then instead of x, I'm going to write 5y. So you can see that I left everything the same. The only thing I replaced was that x with this. And then I'm just going to solve. I'm going to combine these two because they're on the same side. So you don't change signs on anything. You just combine them. and then plus 165. Then I'm going to divide by negative 32. And I get y equals negative 6. Now the solution has to have an x and a y. So that's your y. And then I'm going to take all of this and find my x. X, it says, is 5y plus 33. So 5 times negative 6 plus 33. That's going to give me 3. So my answer is 3, negative 6. And in terms of solutions, it would be one of my solutions. So that's how you solve by substitution. Now I have some extra examples here on substitution. I have some extra examples here on substitution, and you can see on the written notes that I gave you how to solve them. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this just because I don't want a video to be very long, but it should work at least one, right? You always feel free to just fast forward if you feel like I'm being too redundant. But let's work on this one, and then I'll let the other ones, you can look at the notes. So what I try to look for when I'm trying to solve something like this is for a letter that's by itself. So like this y is by itself, so that's perfect. That's the one I'm going to pick. I'm going to start by solving this for y. So in order to do that, I'm going to move the 3x to the other side. So I'm going to end up with y equals 3x plus 21. And now that I have that, now I am going to go and plug in this part for the y on the other problem. So it's going to be negative 7x minus 5. Instead of y, I'm going to write 3x plus 21 equals to 27. And then I'm just going to multiply them out. So if it's not by itself, like the only reason why I wanted to work on this one too is because on the other one it already had x equal. So just look for the letter that's by itself. Like on this problem, the x is by itself here. So this is the one I will solve first. Move the y to the 6 for the other side and then do the substitutions. Because that makes it easier because you don't have to divide and you don't get fractions. So then we combine these. And plus 105. And then divide. And that's how you get x equals to negative 6. And then once you have that, then you take that number and put it here to find y. That's going to give you 3. So then it will be negative 6 and 3. So yes, all these other numbers, you can work like that, like on this one. Now this one here, the x is already there, so we're just going to substitute it in here. So you get 2, 4y plus 5 minus 8y equals to 10. So you see that the y cancels. When the letter cancels, it's either no solution or infinitely many solutions. So in a case like this, it would be infinitely many solution. Now, sometimes they ask you to write like a certain letter on it, but I think in my open math, it will be enough to say infinitely many solutions. If you get something different, let's say like 3 equals 5, the letter cancels and you just get like a number that's false, then it would be no solution. Like you're going to get that on this one. Um, Now there's another method that they also show you here. It's called elimination. And the main reason why we use both methods is substitution can be easier. But like if you look at this one, there's no letter by itself. So when you try to solve, it can be hard because you're going to get fractions. So what we can do is cancel one of the letters. So it's called elimination because you're going to eliminate one of the letters. So you decide which letter you want to cancel, so the X or the Y. I'm just going to go with the X for this. And what you do is you're going to get the number next to the X and you're going to flip it. So I'm going to take the 2 here, the 5 here. Now, in order to eliminate or cancel a letter, you have to have the same number. And that's what I'm trying to do when I flip the numbers. But they have to have different signs. So if you see here, the numbers here have the same sign. So one of these has to be negative so that when I add them up, they cancel. So then I'm going to multiply. So you can see here, when I add these two equations, I have a positive 10 and a negative 10. That's the goal, to have the same numbers with different signs, which is what we do here, and I can cancel them. And I end up with negative 19y equals to 19. And then when we divide, you get the y value, which is negative 1. Now, in order to find the x, just pick any of the other two equations, whichever one you prefer. Just going to get the bottom one. And you're going to substitute the value you just found. So I found the y, so I'm going to put negative 1. And I'm going to solve for the other letter. So I'm going to solve for x. This one was a minus. So this was supposed to be a minus, which makes this a plus, which makes this a minus minus 0. X equals 0. So the answer is 0, negative 1. Because this method is a little bit more complicated, let's do one more. Let's do this one. Like for example, here, if I want to cancel the x, the 4 would come here, the 20 comes here. But you notice that we already have different signs. So these are going to stay positive. Over here, we had the same sign, so I had to put one negative. But if you have different signs, you put both positive. And then I multiply it out. So I'm going to get negative 80x plus 140y equals to 80. And then over here, I'm going to get 80x minus 140y equals to negative 80. When we add them up, everything cancels. So if that happens, then it's infinitely many solutions. Sorry for the writing, but you know, you get down the written notes I have it. It's infinitely many solutions. That's what it's supposed to say in that mumbo jumbo that I wrote there. Let's do some more problems, like here. A bank loaned out 14,500, part of it at this annual interest rate and the other one at this annual rate. The total interest they earned was this. How much was on each of the rates? So one of the money is X and one of the money is Y. When you add the money, that equals the loan, which is now when you multiply, we change them to decimals, so divide by 100 and you get 0.08 for the x plus 0.04 for the y. That gives you the interest, which is 840. And then we need to solve. So this is the setup. And then you need to solve. So I'm going to take this one and both of the letters are by themselves. So it doesn't matter which one you solve for. Just going to solve for y. And then once you have it, you're going to take it and substitute it on the y right here. And then we're going to do the multiplications. These are on the same side, so I'm just going to subtract them. I don't know why I put an extra 0 here. These are on different sides, so I do need to change the sign when I try to combine them. And I'm going to divide by this. And I get that x is 6,500. So they 6,500 at 8%, and then at 4%, we just subtract from the total. And 8,000 at 4%. So that's how you would answer that one. So on the setups, that's how you would go. Now, if you have any other questions on the written out notes, I did do more examples, and you can always follow those based on what I did here. But if you have questions on any of the ones you have on the notes, any of the ones I went over here, or any of the ones you see on the notes, please let me know, and I will definitely go over them with you.